Okay, let's start. Hello, everyone. We had a slight change to master, but now we're ready to start. Welcome to our panel discussion, Israel, Land of Innovation, Opportunities in Research and Technology Transfer. I'm very happy about our amazing round of guests today. We have Omer Elad, who's the Director of Business Development at Orcam Technologies in Israel. Then we have Professor Peter Angel. He's the division head of the German Cancer Research Center in Heidelberg, and he's been working successfully on German-Israeli cooperation for over a decade. And then we have Ofer Talmor, who's the CEO of Aleph Bot, who also came all the way from Israel. So I would like you to maybe just give a brief overview of what you're working on before we dive into the discussion. So maybe, Ofer, do you want to start?
So as I said, my name is Ofer Talmor. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a young startup from the Technion in Israel, and we're going to discuss about the transforming of data from the academia to the industry. We're doing some kind of artificial intelligence that should support physicians in real time in order to take better clinical decisions while they're working.
Oh, you want to present as well?
Should I present also? Oh, right.
Sorry, Ofer. Sorry, I thought you were all ready to go.
No. It's perfect.
Okay, perfect.
It's perfect. Not a problem. All right. So with your permission, I will start with, can you hear me? Yeah. All right. So I'll start with a personal story. 7 years back, our daughter, she was 4.5 years old back then. She got into a severe medical condition, and we started a long journey in hospitals since then. Taking into account that I'm also second in command of a medical evacuation unit in the Army, in the Reserve Forces, and also that I'm coming from the technology market, mostly telecommunication, I saw so many points in the hospitals, in the healthcare system that can be redefined and reinitiated in order to produce better medical decisions. Now, I teamed up with a good friend of mine, Chen. He was the chief architect of an artificial intelligence and analytics product in HPE. And we started AlephBot with a single mission of improving medical treatment. Now, let's talk about the problem in a very big, very high level. So in 2016, John Hopkins paper estimated that medical errors are the third leading cause of death in the United States, accounting 250,000 annual deaths. Okay, and the cost is something like $17 billion direct costs of readmissions. Now, the thing is that, and we're going to discuss that in a second, human factor found to be the primary reason for medical errors. Now, over here, this is part of the solution. We need to define and build systems that are taking care of the human factors, meaning that they are tolerate for errors made by the users. They're not letting the users to remember the protocols, but they can support by following protocols that are predefined. And that's exactly what we found out in the first use case that we're taking care of, and this is resuscitation in hospital after a cardiac arrest. So just look on those numbers. Okay. Maybe I can. Yeah, it would be easier. Thanks. Okay. So just look on those numbers. That's 24.8. That's the average of success ratio or survival rate with in-hospital cardiac arrest. But another paper in 2016 found out that there are hospitals that can outperform 39%, of survival rate versus hospitals that can only do 9%. The difference between them, the difference that found statistically important is the human factor. Okay, so what we would like to do, we would like to create a system, again, that deals with the human factor and supports physicians in real time. So in order to do so, we first need to understand what's going on within the procedure. This is why we're having all kinds of data streams and information that we're collecting during the medical procedure. One of them is the verbal communication between the team members, because they're transferring plenty of data between them. The other one would be ambient sound, and it might be some depth sensors, and of course, data that is coming from medical devices that are already part of the hospital infrastructure, and the information about the specific patient. All of that together with the preloaded medical procedures can help us in order to identify what is exactly the stage in the procedure that the physician are facing right now, and what kind of data they need to get in order to bring on the best possible clinical decision. As a result, we can, first of all, communicate with them, and secondly, we can also auto-document the procedures. So I don't know if you saw a GP in the clinic. Most of the time, what they're doing is they're typing, and that's exactly what's going on also in hospitals. We have very sophisticated machines in hospitals that are used today by physicians and by the medical team in order to insert data into them, rather than the team will use them to support the clinical decisions. So just a bit of the value proposition of the product. So for the medical team, we can improve the workflow. I will show you a 50-second demo in a second. And they can perform something that is called accurate debriefing. Debriefing found to be the primary reason for constant improvement of medical teams. Another thing is for patients, eventually we provide better medical treatment. And of course, for hospitals, they're getting some visibility that right now is missing. So they can know that the optimal treatment is being provided by the professionals from one hand, and of course it's a risk management utility. Now, one of the things is that nation understands that patient safety should be the primary reason in order to provide some additional funds to hospitals. Because eventually, if someone is having some issues in the hospital, then the nation is paying from other budgets, like readmissions or rehabilitations or support or loss of income because the person cannot work anymore. So I'll show you a demo for a second. No, that's not the demo. 1 second. Yeah, that's yours. I know. Yeah. All right, so let's try it like that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what we're seeing here is a demonstration by the American Heart Association, and we provided a demo of what's happening if we just grab the information that they're passing between them and what kind of data we can analyze from it. So every time we identify a medical record, we lit this LED, and whenever we identify that they need to take some kind of a medicine, we lit the proper position of the medicine in the crash cart. And over here, this is the stage that they're right in. This is the medical stage, the medical procedure they're in. So we can take that and provide them some insights. So I'll wrap it up with 2 additional slides just about who we are. Hopefully I'll find it again. Okay, so one slide is about our vision, and we would like to be at the crossroad of a patient, a physician, and a data, and to provide the medical team the most accurate and reliable data so they can take the clinical decisions appropriately. We just name here other things other than resuscitation that we can do. The next things that we're going to do in hospitals are labor rooms and operating rooms. And of course, we can go out all the way to rehabilitation and to the community. The last slide, just a few words about us. So, as I mentioned, we're incubated at the Technion. We've been founded in September 2017. We got some pre-seed fund from the Technion and from the Israeli Innovation Authority. We have 4 pending patents, and we're already cooperating with hospitals in Israel and some medical centers in France as well. That's it.
I have one specific question right away. So if we're looking at German data protection, what are your plans in terms of collaborating with the German market?
Okay, it's by the way, it's not necessarily relevant only to the German market. It's relevant in general,
yeah.
And we need to protect the data of the patient. And the thing is that this product is going to be part of the hospital infrastructures, like the MRI or the CT machines or stuff like that. So eventually we will follow and comply with the regulation and the requirements for security and privacy coming from the hospitals. That's part of the design of the product from day one.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Ofer, for this presentation. So I think we're going to continue with Professor Angel from the German Cancer Research Institute. I had the pleasure to be at the opening of the Helmholtz Association Tel Aviv office opening 4 weeks ago, which is quite impressive. I think that Helmholtz Association has been very active with the German-Israeli Scientific Cooperation, and I'm very happy that Professor Angel is going to talk about his program. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Andrea, and also thank you for the invitation to this Congress and be also part of this discussion around this afternoon on a, I think, exciting and also important aspect. You already had some extra minutes to look at my CV, so I'm a molecular biologist in 87. I spent some time in the United States at San Diego, where I already got very familiar with molecular biology, genetics, and also linked to biomedicine. I came back then to Heidelberg, to the Kfz, to start my own there. And the basic aims or the main interest I have is to understand molecular mechanisms of cancer, to identify how genes are regulated, how they are dysregulated in cancer, using cellular models, but also preclinical animal models, genetically modified, and to compare that to how they relate to human diseases. And the main idea, of course, is to identify and also functionally analyze new biomarkers and possibly also therapeutic targets. So within this spectrum, I'm within the Kfz who is covering the whole area, coming from basic research, discovery with yeast, Drosophila, and also some other principles of gene regulation, up to preclinical translational validation, where I'm positioned, but also now more and more, and there's a strong increase in this area to bring these findings into clinic, which people call clinical translation. The Kfz itself, just very briefly, it was established in 1964, and it's the main national biomedical research center out of the Exeter University. It's a member of Helmholtz, which is a big umbrella on all these major research institutes, and it's located within Heidelberg in this, I think, exceptional Heidelberg biomedical campus. So the reason I'm here today also would is that the DKFZ is holding quite a huge spectrum, I have to say, of cooperation programs with Israel, and I will only want to highlight one. I'm responsible now as a national coordinator of cancer research between Germany and Israel, the so-called DKFZ MOS program, MOS for the Ministry of Science and Technology in Israel, which was founded in 1976, one of the early cooperation program between Israel and Germany, so now 42 years ago. And the main idea was to foster collaborations between German scientists and Israel, but not only that, and I guess even similarly important would also be to foster faith and friendship. We fund, or this program funds cooperation projects, scientific projects between Heidelberg and any institution in Israel. So far, more than 180 projects have been funded. Well published also in high ranks scientific journals. It's highly competitive. You have to apply for. So we have annual workshops. We have which are in Heidelberg, Israel, and these projects are reviewed. New projects are granted. So what was also 10 years ago installed as so-called German winter and summer schools, where we try to bring together already at a very early stage students, but also remarkable experts in emerging fields of cancer research in summer and in the schools. 3-4 days together, very intensively, where also German and Israeli students have a chance to talk about science, but also on many other things, and I think this is also a very important aspect of that. So I was very pleased that this program also was recognized on a very high political level. For example, 2012, I had a chance to present our program at the German-Israeli intergovernmental consultation in front of Prime Minister Netanyahu and also Chancellor Merkel, which you can see here. And just to highlight that indeed health research, cancer research, science and technology research is indeed a very important area where indeed Germany and Israel can effectively collaborate. Finally, there's also a program which is dealing with more applied research, so-called Helmholtz Israel Cooperation in Personalized Medicine. So starting out from patient data, and based on that, try to apply or to establish treatment which is indeed based on information of individual patients. So finally, as a last slide, of course, there is of course the ambition of a research center like the DKFZ to bring this data or to bring this research established at the DKFZ also to the patients, but also to industry, and we try to train also students, postdocs, which shall start by different areas, and some of them I just highlighted that so-called career days, and just by chance next week we will have the career day entrepreneurship and biotech, which will take place with many experts within these areas. And with that, and looking forward to a very interesting discussion, I would stop here as an intro. So thank you very much.
One question.
Sure.
So what are you doing, like, actively in terms of, the technology transfer process? Because I think, when you're working on all these exchange programs and then obviously with the new office in Tel Aviv, so what are the new steps?
Actually, this is a multifaceted question, I guess. Many people have told me a scientist should never start a company or should run a company. Completely wrong. So I guess we also have, of course, as Graf said, technology transfer system. We have a screening system, which kind of research one should apply for patents and so on, which is increasing. I have to say, 10, 15 years ago, scientists didn't want to have to do anything with a business. So, but they more and more get into that. They get training. They get alerted how this works, and I think it's on a good way. But by the end of the day, what one has to say, as a scientist, our currency are publications, and we have to live on publication. We are judged on that, the positions, grants, and so on. So we are a little bit in a sort of dilemma to wait until some of our findings get patents, and on the other side, because there's lots of competition out there to publish all this data. And to get this together, I guess this is the main difficulty at the moment.
Right, so now, talking about successful technology transfer, and obviously Israel is leading the way in that term. I'm very, very happy that we have Allchem Technologies here today. As you know, we have Ziva Viram attending the Congress, and he's going to hold a keynote later on the main stage at 5 o'clock. And now I'm very happy that we have Omar Elad here, who's the running the business development at Allchem Technologies, and he's going to give us a short introduction to this wonderful, amazing device.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. I must admit that it's a bit stressful to be after a professor on stage. I barely have my BA, but I will try to do it good enough. So I want to tell you the story about Allchem Technologies. Allchem is a company, high-tech company from Jerusalem, not Tel Aviv, as the usual high-tech companies, but we are from Jerusalem, which is quite unique, and we are very proud of it. Allchem Technology was founded in 2010. 8 years ago, by two founders, Israeli founders, Mr. Ziva Viram, that you will see him later at 5 p.m., and Professor Amnon Shashua. Amnon Shashua is a world-leading professor for algorithms. Those two gentlemen actually founded other big Israeli and well-known company called Mobileye. They founded this company in 1999, and they started with developing systems, anti-collision systems for vehicles, which means they took cars and they put cameras on the cars, and those cameras, the goal of them was to prevent car accidents by using different technology of computer vision or AI technology. And today, most of the car manufacturers are working with Mobileye, and most of the cars today have anti-collision systems that will give you alarm if you're going too close to other vehicles or if you're going a bit outside of the lane, so it will bring you back. 2010, so Professor Shashua and Mr. Aviram said, okay, we have great technology for vehicles. We're going to reduce the number of casualties due to car accidents. But what else we can do with the same technology, almost the same, to help other communities and other people. And they had like a brainstorming of a couple of months when they interviewed like thousands of people, asking them, what do you need? And then the solution came, and they came with the answer that there is a 3% of the population in the world that has a problem with gathering information, to see things that we as think people, for us is really simple, to see things, to read stuff, and to gather information. We're talking about visually impaired and blind people. 3%, minimum of 3% of the population are visually impaired and blind people. For them, back in 2010, the only solution that they had was using Braille. I don't know if you know about Braille, but it's a special written bullets text for them. So around 10% of the population of visually impaired and blind people can actually read Braille. The majority doesn't have any other solution in order to read text, newspapers, books, WhatsApp from their mobile phones, everything. They don't have a good solution. So from 2010 to 2015, Orcam developed a device that was only for visually impaired and blind people at the beginning. And they thought, this is our potential users, people that have difficulties with reading. During the process of development, they founded more people, more populations that have problems with reading, like people with dyslexia, or reading difficulties, what we call. And in 2015, they came with Orcam II. This is the small device, which is available. This device will actually help people to read text and to do more. I will just introduce the device. We have a small camera here and a speaker on the other side. This device is very, very important for the German market. This is offline. The device is not connected. Yeah, I know the problem. This was the first Andreas question. It's not connected to any external databases, not to a cloud, not to a Wi-Fi, not to 3G. So you can use it everywhere, anywhere, and we are not sending any data from your device outside. I will just show you how the device works. So you have a frame of glasses here. You can use it with any glasses that you have. I have a small mount here, magnet, and we're just going to touch the device like this. I'm going to take a text that I just got here. Just point the text like this.
Mal für Mal hat Israel weitreichende Friedensvorschläge vorgelegt, große Zugeständnisse gemacht, ausgedehnte Gebiete des Landes aufgegeben, Siedlungen geräumt, Truppen abgezogen, Militärstützpunkte.
Okay, it will read the text until the end of the page. If I want to stop it, I will just do like this. Stop. So it's working with a very simple and basic hand gesture. Pointing, stopping. If you are completely blind and you don't know where to point, so you can just tap here. It's a touchpad and it will read. The device is available today in 25 languages, so we can basically read all the major languages in the world. We are selling the device in more than 30 countries. For us, German is a strategic market, one of the biggest one and very important. We'll talk about it later. And we have some more features in the device that are important feature for people that have a problem to gather information, as we said, like face recognition, okay? Go into the minds of blind people. For them to identify who is in front of them is really extremely complicated because they don't know the person. So our device is able to recognize faces by their names. Or going to the grocery. You want to buy Coca-Cola Zero, and you don't want to buy Coca-Cola Diet. You want to buy Coca-Cola Zero. So our device will tell you which product is the Coca-Cola Zero on the shelf, and you can take the right one using databases of barcodes of products. We also have some more features like color detection, and we are working on more and more features. So Orcam Technologies is an Israeli company, as I said, that developed a very special and unique device to a very niche market, which is not obvious for a high-tech company to develop, to invest so much efforts, time, money for such a niche market. But our goal is to empower people and to help people to gather information and to be independent. And we are really proud that Israel is able to export such a unique technology and device and to improve the lives of some people in the world today. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Well, that's truly unique. I'm sure everybody agrees. You mentioned the German market. I just wanted to quickly ask, I know like the German health insurance system, they're supporting it, are they contributing? Can you just maybe briefly explain what the German market is, what role the German market plays?
Yeah, so for us, for Orcam, the main goal is that around 80% of our users will not need to pay for the device, but someone else will pay for it. It could be health insurance, government, organizations, or other institutions. In Germany, Germany is quite pioneered regarding reimbursement, because in Germany, all the blind and visually impaired people today can just approach the health insurance company, ask for the device, and they will be paid between 70 to 100% of the price of the device, which is a very big achievement for us. And I think it's I'm working in other countries, and definitely the social policy in Germany is very, very advanced.
Mm-hmm. And I know this is more a question maybe, and I think Ziba Viram is going to talk about this later on the main stage, but just to get an idea of the process, like the time period of a process from just coming up with the idea to just basically launching it into the market. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
So the process at the beginning was, until they came with the idea, it took them almost a year to understand who needs the technology and how they can help other people. And then the process of around 6 years, which is a very long process, was to the challenges, or was basically was how to do a device that is offline, that can work anywhere, anytime. And this was the first challenge, and they started with this assumption that they need to have a device that people can use it everywhere, anywhere. Then they needed to decide which features to include, what is more important, what to start with. And they realized that the reading one is the most important. In order to understand that the reading feature is the most important, they needed to interview thousands of blind and visually impaired people. It was a long process, and we didn't finish it. It will probably endless process of developing.
Well, thank you very much. So before we're going to get some questions from the audience, I think I want to get like one final question for everyone. So obviously we know about the military, we know about the, high intelligence units in Israel, but what's the secret to Israel's success in terms of research? What do you think? And also, obviously you can't just adapt one, success story to another country, but what do you personally think, or the three of you, could be a good way of adapting this success story?
All right. So first of all, I think that we have some challenges in Israel in creating big companies, not just startups. And from the way I see it, I've been working here in Germany from 2000 with big telecommunication companies. And what I did is I took technology and got the big technology companies to accept it. And it was a process. As you just described, from the minute that you're thinking of a new product until you actually can commercialize it and sell it to big companies, there is a time that you need to grow up the product and to make it more mature. So if I look on it, and if I look on that experience, then from one hand, we have very big advantage in Israel, which is the innovation, and that everyone can do everything, and that's perfect. But I think that the next step would be to take some of the benefits from the German industry, for example, and really create big companies. So, as you mentioned, Mobileye was sold to Intel for $15 billion. That's a huge success for Israel. But if we look on other examples from worldwide, we can do better. Again, we can do better as a nation, and that's exactly where I see Israel going on, and actually taking more, let's call it this way, putting more attention to other things than just rather technology, pure technology. Also how to mature the product and how to excel it to the market and how to sell it, and those things we need to get better a bit.
Yeah, maybe I will say a few words coming from a different angle. I guess we all hear the strength of Israel, maybe also some weaknesses. We have it also in Germany, strength and weaknesses. So in Israel, high risk, and let's go. In Germany, a little bit more resistance, more to be on the safe side, maybe think what may go wrong, while the Israelis just go on. But I guess the important thing is that you can't only use it on paper. You have to experience that. And I guess people from Germany and from Israel have to meet. They have to know each other. They have to experience others, and that's the feedback I always get from winter schools, for example. Students from Israel come to me and are very, very grateful that they have. That's the first chance to meet students from Germany. They all know it from TV or from parents, grandparents, and they really enjoy it to talk about science, to talk about other things, even history. And I guess that's the way how that they trust each other and they're doing things together. Because I think a major aspect is also that there's lots of competition out there, and people, if you have an idea, you don't want to share it with too many people who may want to scoop you. So that's why I think it's extremely important to meet at any level to get to trust each other, to start common things. So, and I think we are on a good way. And I guess people in Germany are open-minded. In Israel, we are open-minded. They like to do things together. That's what I experience, and we should create many more opportunities of this.
I would say 2 points that I think that makes Israel a startup nation. First is a word that probably German people are very much familiar with, is chutzpah. And we have the Jewish or the Israeli chutzpah. And it means that if you have an idea, you will do everything in order to fulfill your idea or to do something with it. And you will not be ashamed to go to your CEO or founder of the company, just to go into his room and said, I have a brilliant idea, without even going in the way to your direct boss. And the second thing I think is, in Israel, people are not afraid of doing mistakes. And there is a very big tolerance for mistakes. So I think that in Israel, there is something like 5,000 startups today. It's the biggest per capita country with startups. Of course, less than 10%, I think, are doing an exit or something, or being corporate or something like this. And the rest of the people are not making any suicide. They are just opening a new startup, okay? Because they said, okay, I had a failure here, I will try something new. And it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. And this is probably because we are quite young nation, and we are still building our nation and trying to understand who we are and what we are. And we're just not afraid from it. And it's good and it's bad, because sometimes you're taking too much risks. But the majority of the cases, it's just helping you to build yourself in order to make your next challenge.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think you mentioned you got funds from the Innovation Authority, right? Because I think whenever I bring German delegations over to Israel, we have this meeting at the Israeli Innovation Authority, when they tell everyone that they're going to evaluate the product by just saying, okay, the higher the risk, then we give money. Like, that's when all the Germans are like, okay, and this is where how are we going to adapt this? But that's basically the big success story. I couldn't agree more about the mindset, definitely. So, questions, anyone? Now you have the opportunity. Anyone?
It's always difficult to fight the first one, so let's start from the second.
If someone has an idea, usually that's because the time has come for this idea, and that's the reason why many other people in some place in the world may have the same idea at the same time, even without copying or anything. Did you have to face this problem? Are there others with the same idea?
Like Orcam? Or...
Orcam.
I think probably every one of us saw reports on the media about something like new technology or new product and said, I thought about it like a year ago or 10 years ago, I said we should do it. But it's not enough to have an idea. You need to do much more than it. In our case, no. We don't see till now any competition or other similar products. And I think it's because, as I said, we are talking on a very niche market, and the secret in our device is the software. We're doing OCR process, and we built our own OCR engine, which is the best OCR engine today in the world. So you need to invest lots of time with brilliant engineers in order to do it for a very niche market. And till now, I didn't see someone that told me, listen, I thought about it like 10, 20 years ago and you stole my idea. So we are lucky.
So you said, or what a lot of people said today, is that the Israeli people are not afraid of failing. And so I guess the German people are a little bit afraid of failing. And what I was wondering is, what are usually the implications for failed businesses in Israel? Or if you fail?
Okay, so I don't think it's that of an issue. That's our second time. Okay, that's our second startup. And the first one, we had to drop it because of my daughter's situation. But again, no one would have guaranteed that we would go after the seed investment that we already had. And it's very simple. You need to run to some authorities and just close the business. That's it. And it's not a big issue. And I couldn't agree more. It's just a mindset. So you're doing something and you're trying to make a better world, and it's okay. You're learning every time. You're learning something new. I think that right now I can run my a new startup much better because I have an excellent experience from the previous one. And in the middle, I took me as a professional, and I worked as an employee in another startup, and we succeeded over there as well. So it's okay. It's part of the career path. That's it.
Any more questions? No? Well, thank you very much. And please don't miss the presentation at 5 p.m. on the main stage in the auditorium where Ziva Viram is going to be. And then he's going to give you the full picture of everything. Thank you so much, guys.